A lot of people, let me say, are angry about the Queensland Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk's claim that the borders will remain closed for at least another 4 months. The Premier told the ABC yesterday she feels Queensland won't open up to the rest of the country until September. Tourism operators are now warning the Premier they'll be broke by the end of winter should borders remain closed. Our domestic tourism industry is worth $80 billion. It provides tens of thousands of jobs every year. Now, Queensland, South Australia and WA tourism rely on people in the colder periods from May to September travelling or holidaying in the warmer climates of places like Queensland. Last year, 2.2 million people travelled to Queensland on holiday for at least one night. 515,000 travelled to WA to places like Margaret River. Both are expected to be ghost towns in the coming months because the states insist that their borders remain closed. Remember one thing, the Prime Minister has persistently argued that the National Cabinet never suggested the closure of borders. But the Premiers of Queensland and WA are members of the National Cabinet. Yet on things like schools and border closures, they go rogue. Put bluntly, Premier Palaszczuk, with an election due in October, is draining votes when she simply says the border won't open until the end of the year. You can't go to Queensland. How does that grow the economy? July 10 had been flagged for lifting these stupid closures. That was bad enough. But this is the point. The madness, listen to this, is based on the advice of the Chief Health Officer in Queensland, this Dr. Jeanette Young. Advice. Leaders take whatever advice they like, but then they must lead, not follow. Yet we have this out of the Premier's mouth yesterday, quote, whilst there is community transmission in Sydney and Melbourne, my Chief Health Officer is going to be very reluctant to open those borders, unquote. I beg your pardon, Annastacia? So the health officer opens the borders. Who's running the joint up there? My Chief Health Officer is going to be very reluctant to open those borders. Advice is advice. Leadership is leadership. We elect our leaders to lead. The borders should be open now. We either want to grow the economy or bury it. Annastacia Palaszczuk, hear the advice, listen to the advice, but then lead and decide. There was one extra case in New South Wales yesterday, but if the borders are a problem, it hasn't helped Queensland avoid the community-transmitted outbreak recently in Rockhampton. One extra case in New South Wales, and you screw the economy. We are facing a crisis in leadership.